Eccoci qua ragazzi, di nuovo ben arrivati su una nostra nuova puntata del Calice Nero. Ciao Adiber, ben arrivato sul Calice Nero,
Buonasera.
che oggi ci divertiamo alla grande, oggi spacchiamo alla grande, abbiamo niente poco di meno che di Shining from Norvegia, quindi andiamo sulla elevata qualità Adimer, quindi dal black al jazz.
Sì, possiamo considerare loro come avant-garde, progressive, chi più ne ha più ne metta, perché hanno la capacità di unire talmente tanti stili che effettivamente è impossibile definirli.
Ok, chiamiamo in diretta niente meno che Jorgen Macri. Hello Jorgen.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hi there. We're doing great. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to interview.
And yeah, as I said, thanks for spending some time with us, and thanks for everything, basically. So, welcome to Il Calice Nero, the Black Chalice.
Thank you so much. It's black, and it's black where I am now. Also, I'm out in the streets in Oslo, walking. So it's a good match.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're now starting with the questions. So, cattivo maestro, quando vuoi.
Ok, allora, Jorgen, come riusciamo a descrivere di Shining, la composizione sassofonista appunto di Mr. Jorgen all'interno di una pittura, quindi di un qualcosa di mai visto? Come riesci a creare arte espansa, contemporanea, con qualche tocco di antichità nell'arte stessa?
Okay, so the cattivo maestro is asking you, how can you describe your work in Shining as a sax player, and how it is able to be compared to a painting where you can see some contemporary tracks, or even like old style, like ancient looking stuff?
Well, my role in Shining as a sax player has been changing along with the music we have made. We started out a long time ago in 1999, and I just played sax and some flute and bass clarinet at that time, and we played the acoustic jazz music, and so we were like a acoustic jazz quartet. So that is different than now, where I'm singing a lot, and it's more pop style songs, and so it's been changing a lot. I don't know if you want to translate first before I go on.
You can take your time and go on with the reply.
So I don't know. That's how I would describe it. It changes all the time. It changes according to what I'm interested in, and what I basically I'm on this earth to right now my goal here is to have fun and learn new things, new, and it could be new instruments, it could be playing a new instrument, or right now like learning how to sing, or composing in new ways, producing music in different ways. So that's really how I view my role as a sax player. It's changing,
Okay, so basically, for example, since I've talked about paintings, stuff like that, you think that it's like every painter's life that starts from one point and then changes to get another look, and maybe or another view in general.
Yeah, it changes what you see, but it also changes style. Like you could say in the beginning I was kind of romantic kind of painting, and then it started getting harsher and more non-figurative, and now it's more modern. so he changes style too, you know, just like Picasso changed style during his life, you know, started out painting normal, correct stuff, and then changed a lot when he got older. That's kind of that's what I do too.
Okay, so I will now translating
Yeah.
the reply that you gave.
Yeah.
Praticamente il suo lavoro come sassofonista di per sé è molto variabile, nel senso che come varia la musica cambia anche il suo ruolo appunto da quel punto di vista, perché anche appunto gli Shining sono nati nel 99 come sorta di quartetto jazz dove lui suonava sia il sax che anche proprio flauto e clarinetto. Poi appunto quello che sono diventati oggi è qualcosa di più pop, dove lui canta di più, quindi appunto anche là il sax lo usa meno. E figurativamente parlando, comparandolo sull'aspetto quello di dipinti che chiedevi tu all'inizio, praticamente è come la vita del pittore in sé, quindi non come un dipinto vero e proprio, perché se ci pensi loro appunto partendo come quartetto jazz hanno iniziato più sul romantico, poi sono diventati più grezzi e ora sono proprio più moderni, quindi lui ha fatto appunto il paragone con Picasso, però appunto lui quello che gli interessa principalmente come ruolo all'interno della band è quello di divertirsi, imparare anche nuovi strumenti se necessario, produrre canzoni e in senso generale proprio fare quello che gli piace in quel momento, che gli interessa.
Perfetto. Allora, salutiamo appunto Denis Radaelli, ciao carissimo, leggi anche il commento Adimer in inglese.
It says, Jorgen, that's my man. Yeah. So it says hi to you.
Okay, hi.
Salutiamo Urgal, Nino City, ciao Ale e Papa Dieter, leggi anche questo commento perché secondo me ne vale veramente la pena.
So it say, I don't know whether you can read it, but it says like, good evening, I decided to join the show because I like Shining.
Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
from
great.
Papa Dieter.
Yeah, exactly.
A te la domanda, prego.
So now my question is, you've decided to begin Shining in 1999 while you were studying at the Norwegian Academy of Music.
Yeah.
And what brought you into getting the band started, and what were your influences back then? Because I mean, it's quite some time ago, and also it is quite an interesting choice of music considering what it has become now. So
you're asking what made me start the band, really? Is that the question? Yeah. Well, I have that's how, you know, I was a kid, or like I was 18 years old. I had been playing music my whole life, or since I was not my whole life, but since I was 9 years old, and I grew up with, you know, friends who I was in a metal, you know, a gang of guys that loved metal music. So we listened to music and metal all the fucking time. So music was, we're doing like a couple of things. We're listening to metal music, skating, drinking booze, and doing burglaries and shit. So so that was like that was what we did, and so it was natural for us to start bands. I played in bands my whole life since I was, you know, since I started playing the sax, since I was 10 years old. So when I moved to Oslo, this is the capital of Norway, one of the first things I did was gather a group of people that I felt maybe, you know, was the same as me, that had like a wide interest in music, because I studied at the jazz school at that time. But there were people like the bass player who I, got to join the band. He was a hip hop guy also in one of Norway's biggest hip hop bands. And then the piano player was the typical. He was like into a lot of different music also. The drummer was a really good pop drummer and also was hugely influenced by John Bonham and Led Zeppelin and also AC/DC. Mm-hmm. So we were 4 at that time. So that was all the people. So that was a cool gang to make a band with, and I wanted to have a place where I can I wrote music all the time. I had played at that time. I played another pretty big Norwegian band called Jaga Jazzist, which was a 10-piece band that combined jazz music and modern electronic music. So I had written songs for them and also jazz songs for myself many years. So it was just like a way to get started on my own project really as soon as possible when I moved to a new city. No more, no bigger thoughts than that. Just like do what I wanted to do, really.
Ok, quindi allora io gli ho chiesto praticamente appunto cosa l'ha portato a fondare la band all'epoca, anche soprattutto con l'idea di un quartetto jazz, sapendo che poi comunque si è evoluto talmente tanto nel tempo, e questo l'abbiamo anche accertato prima. Praticamente la sua risposta è stata che all'epoca era un ragazzino perché aveva praticamente 18 anni e lui suona da quando aveva più o meno 9 anni, quindi comunque metà della sua vita all'epoca l'aveva passato a suonare.
È nato come talento proprio, è nato
esatto, come talento e passione, perché comunque lui ha avuto un sacco di amici che facevano parte del mondo del metal, quindi ascoltavano un sacco di metal, facevano casino, bevevano, facevano le zingarate, diremo noi altri. E poi quando si è spostato ad Oslo, avendo anche appunto cambiato ambiente, cambiato scuole, perché lui aveva iniziato con una scuola di jazz là ad Oslo, e appunto giusto per dire, io ho musica da vendere praticamente, diciamo così, e ho bisogno di tirar fuori un qualcosa per farla uscire, perché appunto anche ha detto ho passato tutta la mia vita a comporre, e ho trovato appunto questo bassista che era più verso il mondo dell'hip hop. Il pianista invece era un po' più vario come tipologia di generi musicali che lo influenzavano, mentre il batterista era molto più sul pop con anche influenze sul classic rock, quindi lui ha detto di Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, e anche il fatto che lui abbia suonato nei Jaga Jazzist, che era praticamente un complesso di 10 persone, l'ha portato praticamente a formare questa cosa.
Perfetto, adesso leggiamo la domanda di Alessandro. Prego, Adiner.
Okay, so Alessandro Scandura is asking you, what images are going through your head when you are writing music? And so basically, what is your imagination when you are playing?
Playing and writing music, that's sometimes it's the same, but the part of, let's start with writing music. Writing music is hard, so you got to figure out a way to you got to practice it and figure out a way to get good at it. And what I've found out is that first of all, I need to have some kind of passion and some kind of idea of what I want to do, and it could be whatever. It could be a groove, it could be a feeling, it could be some lyrics, it could be just a musical style. Like for black jazz, it was the idea of mixing metal and jazz music and also have it like being produced sounding like Nine Inch Nails or Marilyn Manson. Let me just get into this. my rehearsal space.
Okay.
And then so it could start like that, or it could start just based on music, or like I said. So that's part of where it starts. And then comes another really important part, which is, I'd say, like a technical way of how do you get your brain to be creative. How do you get your brain to continue to be creative? And that's not really about being inspired, because the first thing I was talking about is how do you get inspired and what inspires you? And that could be a lot of different things. For some people, the inspiration is just getting famous or rich, and so for some people like me, it's more about the music I create. But then another really important part is how do you keep creating stuff? And I've learned a few tricks. First of all, I've learned to kind of like split my brain between one side. Let's say, like, oftentimes we say that the right hand is the analytical part. There's this left brain and right hand, so that's the thinking, analytical part. And then the left hand is like the artistic hand, which is tied to the right brain side. And then that's like the artistic side. So I usually, or everybody probably starts with the artistic brain half side, and you come up with ideas and you brainstorm. But usually the biggest problem that I see in myself and almost everybody is that the analytical part of your brain suddenly starts joining in and says like, that idea isn't really that good. And if you compare your demo now that you've been working on for 20 minutes, if you compare that to your previous single, the hit single from the previous record, the new stuff is just shit. And then it start analyzing way too early, because that's an unfair fight, because the stuff you're comparing it to you've been working on it for a year, and then you have 10 different versions, and it's been mixed and mastered, and it's been out there, and then it ended up being the hit song, although you didn't think it was going to be that hit song. So you got to split your brain and keep the analytical part of your brain out until you're done with the brainstorm phase. And in the brainstorm phase, everything is allowed. Every idea is good, and you know that to get one good idea, you got to have 10, 100 bad ideas. So you just keep on going. And then when you found that now I have a lot of material, you say, okay, next phase, that's the analytical editing phase. And then you throw out the brainstorming, the artistic side of it, and say, now you can go to bed, lay down, take a rest, and you invite the analytical part. And then you start looking at what you have and say, okay, that's good. Maybe maybe let's make a song out of this. And then you start editing and creating and deleting. And then you come up with, I usually, try to make a song out of what I have, and then just like be really quick about it. Just choose the best parts, make it into a song. And then I think, okay, I need a better chorus. I need a better intro. I need, and then suddenly you can go back to another brainstorming artistic phase. You switch back and say, okay, done with the analytical part, invite back the brainstorming brain, the artistic brain. Everything's allowed, every idea is good, and you kind of go back and forth. But if you do this, if you let these two parts of your brain work at the same time, they just knock each other out. Boom, 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 and you get nowhere.
Yeah, so basically you are trying to say that you try to keep the judgmental stuff later on through the process, and basically focus on use that for the actual production rather than from when you are writing a song.
It's later, but that's because you usually start with brainstorming ideas and the creative part, but it's not really about what comes first. It's more about keeping them separate.
Okay.
Not at the same time. You don't create and be judgmental at the same time. You first create, then be judgmental, and then you can create some more, and then you can be judgmental. You just go like, here it is. Go back and Back and forth, yeah. If you're in the flow, don't fucking stop it. You know?
Ok, quindi praticamente ha detto che di per sé non ha detta in soldoni, non ha una cosa che lui ha in testa mentre sta creando. Quindi lui si focalizza principalmente sul fatto che, appunto, essendo difficile scrivere musica, lui dice bisogna provare, nel senso che quello che fa generalmente è basarsi su un qualcosa che ha in testa, quindi parliamo più di suoni o anche testi alcune volte, quindi può essere un groove, un feeling, eccetera, quindi appunto da un'idea generale. Lui la butta giù, può essere anche altra musica in generale, lui la butta giù, ci crea, mi viene da dire quasi una bozza di quello che è, e cerca di influenzare la propria creatività, nel senso, quello che fa per essere lui stesso più creativo, lui divide il cervello in parte analitica e la parte quella artistica. Quindi lui cerca di far partire la parte artistica all'inizio, giusto per mettere giù le idee. Perché un'altra roba che ha detto è: per avere un'idea buona deve averne 100 di cattive. Quindi non di continuare a andare, buttare giù che magari tornano utile per altre cose e così via. E poi fa subentrare la parte quella analitica, cioè quindi praticamente analizza le varie cose che vengono messe all'interno della canzone, dice no, ma magari questo ritornello lo farei diverso, questa parte si collega meglio, quindi praticamente si focalizza sulla parte di produzione effettiva piuttosto che su quello che sta facendo. Sì, ovvio, anche su quello che sta facendo,
certo.
però comunque fa avanti e indietro tra le due cose, nel senso che se trova magari che una parte non viene bene e non ha trovato nulla che potesse andare bene tra quello che aveva fatto prima, per riempire quel buco ritorna fuori la parte artistica. Quindi appunto, come diceva lui, fa avanti e indietro tra le due parti del cervello senza che vadano a contrastare, perché se no, ha detto, viene fuori un macello. Quindi tutto qua.
Ok, allora dopo lasciamo la domanda di Denis. Allora, voglio concentrarmi nel 2010, 2013, 2010 Black Jazz, capolavoro, appunto il 2013 altro gioiellino 111. Questi due dischi, questi due capolavori, questi due quadri, io li definisco proprio quadri, non solo musica, come potrebbero rileggere la colonna sonora del film di Kubrick, appunto Shining.
So, Il Cattivo Maestro is asking you, between the time in 2010 and 2013 you've released Black Jazz and 111, and how do you think that these two releases can be put into the Kubrick's masterpiece Shining itself?
Yeah, I like Black Jazz. I think could work well. There's a lot of, there's some atmospheric, scary stuff in Black Jazz that could work well. In a lot of places in the hotel, like it could be in the hallways, or it could be out in the labyrinth, or and some of the heavier stuff could work, or the Madness and the Damage Done and stuff with vocals could probably work when what's the name of the main character? I don't know if Jack or Jack Nicholson, but I don't know what it's called in the movie. But when he's writing and he's so fucking tired of his wife nagging about because he wants to write when he goes crazy, or or at the end when you see him go through the labyrinth outside, there's a lot of parts in Black Jazz that could work really well, I think, in that movie. With 111, that's more like it's got less of the atmospheric cinematic parts, so probably not as good for that movie, because it's such a such a cinematic, conceptual movie. But it would be actually really cool to make a background music thing for the bar downstairs or whatever it is, where I don't know if that bar exists. The bar is probably there, but the people don't exist.
Yeah, that's the thing in the Okay, so okay, I will be going to translate. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, you can translate.
Okay. Praticamente ha detto che per quanto riguarda Shining, di per sé Black Jazz è quello che più si addice, perché dice sì, Black Jazz ha parti più atmosferiche che quindi possono andare bene in sezioni come magari ha parlato del labirinto, e ci sono parti che sono un po' più tirate, mi viene da dire. Magari il termine non è quello giusto, che possono andare bene magari in altre scene dove magari sei un po' più, diciamo, al chiuso. Ha parlato anche della scena quella dove c'è Jack Nicholson che sta scrivendo alla macchina da scrivere e inizia ad andare fuori di testa, quindi quell'ambiente là. Invece per 111 che la questione è un pelo più complicata, perché dice sì, non ci sta molto meglio rispetto a Black Jazz, però ha detto ad esempio potrebbe starci nelle scene quelle dei bar come musica di sottofondo, che comunque appunto non ha molte parti atmosferiche. Appunto Shining, essendo un film molto strutturato, molto cinematico, quindi molto ampio, appunto il Black Jazz è quello che ha sicuramente la meglio all'interno del contesto Shining.
Perfetto, salutiamo Arianne, un abbraccio a Michele e appunto a De Bir Jesus. A te la domanda, Adimer, e dopo la tua domanda, tra l'altro è tutto, e diciamo quella di Jesus dopo. A te.
Okay, so maybe mine is quite of a broad question, but seeing the kind of notoriety that you've been able to get with Black Jazz, how did you find to write music after that album? I mean, I guess the expectations were quite high after that release. So how was it?
Yeah, you're right. It was high, and that's like I said, I've found a few ways to lay the foundation for being creative, and having expectations either from yourself or from other people is a really bad starting point for being creative. I knew that for instance, when going into Black Jazz, I was so tired of what we had been doing, and I felt that I had nothing to lose and everything to win by doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do. That was going into Black Jazz, and that created a freedom and devil may care attitude. Like, fuck everyone else, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. That attitude is a really good attitude to be creative, because you're not afraid of anything. I don't want, like, in my life, I don't want to be afraid of anything. I don't want to be afraid to play at the top of a mountain. I don't want to be afraid to play in a club in Paris 4 days after the terror attack. I don't want to be afraid of changing my music. I don't want to be afraid of anything. I'd rather, die standing than live on my knees. That's kind of like where how I view my life and how I think people should live. So, and when it comes to writing music, that's my attitude when I wrote Black Jazz. And after Black Jazz came out, and it, people might, have gotten some expectations for what the next one was, I've kind of felt that I needed to get back to that feeling, and to the feeling where I had nothing to lose and everything to win by doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do. So I had to, every time I do stuff like that, I'd force myself to think that way. So that's what I did. And that's what I always do if I feel that people have are trying to tell me what to do. Or trying to influence what influence, either directly or indirectly try to influence my music, then that's my reaction. I just push that away, and just like, it gives me more will to do something else, to say like, fuck you.
So basically you go back to the roots, sort of saying, with composing music, so that you do it just for yourself, and to please your own taste, rather than what everyone else is expecting.
Every time I got to do this every time, but sometimes more than others. Like right after Black Jazz, like you said, I needed to focus on that very much. And especially like if we fast forward to when making Animal, after doing like, I would say 3 kind of Black Jazz albums, like Black Jazz 111 and International Black Jazz Society, and the live Black Jazz DVD. So kind of 4 Black Jazz conceptual thing, and being in that world for 8 years. I knew that it was going to be a shock to people if we did something different. So that's, going into Black Jazz, I needed to, get into that space of, I got nothing to lose, everything to win. And with Animal, I needed to do the same. And that's when I think the most interesting things happen, if you are in that mental space.
So basically it clicked in your head, and you started like not giving a fuck, basically.
Yeah. But oftentimes there's other things in my life that also contributes to this. It could be that I'm tired of what I've been doing for a long time. It could be problems in my life with people I know. It could be girlfriends who are crazy in their heads, or breakups, or it could be my dad dying, or it could be economic problems. It could be whatever, but usually bad stuff. Makes me more like that. It makes me feel like I've got nothing to lose, because if you don't have anything, you got nothing to lose. Like if you're a rich motherfucker and you have like millions of fans, and people, then it's easier to feel like you got something to lose. Well, I don't have millions of money, and I don't have millions of fans, so I got nothing to lose, motherfuckers.
That's true.
Fantastic.
Quindi, allora, gli ho chiesto in soldoni, vabbè, dopo l'uscita di Black Jazz, appunto, le aspettative che si sono create erano altissime, quindi ho detto come si è sentito nel scrivere musica successivamente a quell'album. E lui ha detto molto palesemente che da ancora prima di Black Jazz, quindi proprio con la scrittura di Black Jazz, lui si è messo con la questione, quella di cui parlavamo prima, dello splittare il cervello in base a artistico, e si è messo a dire ok, a me non sbatte un cazzo di niente, quindi lui ha detto io non ho nulla da perdere, ho tutto da guadagnarci, e ha iniziato a riprendere a scrivere musica per il piacere suo personale, quindi non tanto per dire devo fare un piacere a qualcuno, esatto, devo farlo perché mi piace, devo trovare piacere in quello che faccio. E ha detto che comunque c'è di mezzo anche il fatto che lei ha tirato in mezzo la questione di rotture, magari di relazioni, magari il fatto che suo padre è morto, problemi economici, qualsiasi voglia cosa negativa, purtroppo va a, almeno per lui, è andata ad influenzare quell'attitudine di me ne sbatto le balle di tutto e di tutti. Quindi diciamo che da quel momento in poi non ha più pensato alla questione vado a soddisfare i fan, vado a soddisfare la critica, quello che vuoi. E appunto lui voleva sbattersene, appunto, cioè non senza continuare a girarsi attorno. E ha detto che comunque anche con l'ultimo album Animal parliamo comunque di un periodo tra Black Jazz e appunto Animal di 8 anni. Ha detto era anche ora di fare qualcosa di diverso, quindi si è creata quella situazione di nuovamente nulla da perdere, tutto da guadagnarsi, e ha detto a me non ha interessato sconvolgere la gente perché abbiamo fatto qualcosa di diverso. Ha detto dopo 4 capitoli uguali, quindi parliamo appunto di Black Jazz, 111, International Black Jazz Society e Live Black Jazz, è diventata una roba che sì, lo faccio, cioè non mi faccio problemi di alcuna natura.
Tranquillo, Jorgen, create arte, quindi tanto di chapeau.
So you are creating art, so there's really no problem. You're saying about doing whatever you want, so chapeau to you and congratulations for what you're making.
Yeah, thank you.
Allora, leggi la domanda di Dennis, per favore, Adima,
Okay.
grazie mille, gentilissimo.
Dennis is asking about your recent cooperation with Epica this Saturday during their 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And is asking you whether you want to tell about the genesis of Final Lullaby, with them.
Yeah, I think the bass player in Epica, Rob van der Loo, I got friends with him online, Facebook and Instagram, I guess. He was following Shining or me or something, and I just like recognized him, although I haven't, I didn't know much about Epica, but I just like noticed, he had a cool bass or whatever. So I just noticed his name, and then we started talking, or I think maybe I met him for the first time at something called 70,000 Tons of Metal, which is a metal cruise.
Yeah, the one in the US.
Yeah, going from Miami to Mexico and then back. So we played there I played keyboard with a Norwegian black metal band called Emperor, and we played there in January 2020, and that's the same. Like Epica also played there. They played at the same stage right before us or something like that. So I talked with him a little bit there, and I asked him if he wanted to join me, to go scuba diving. He couldn't do it, but that's probably the first time we talked. And then during the pandemic, Epica, they had an album that were done, but they decided to not release it because they couldn't tour. So they wanted other things to do, and I think they came up with the idea of maybe writing some songs with people, other musicians that they liked. So Rob was the first one, I think, to come up with the idea to ask me. So he contacted me, and I said yes. So we started working on that song together, and we both wanted it to be more of a rock song than the rest of Epica's songs. So that's like again, you ask where do I start when I write some music? That's where we started. We started saying that let's make something, rock song, something, similar to Animal, or, that kind of, heavy riffing stuff. So we did that and wrote it, sent ideas back and forth online. And I started singing, writing lyrics, and then he, added some riffs or orchestral parts or whatever, and then pretty soon that song got finished. So we were pretty quick on that, and then all the other people in that project were really slow. so it took a lot of time. Like now we're in 2020, right? 2022. So it's been maybe 1.5 years, something like that. So it's been a long time, but that's because all the other people were slow. And then we went to, when all the other people, like most of the other people were done, they had enough music for, I would say an album, because it's like, I think 7-8 songs and they're long. I think the label calls it an EP, but I don't agree with that, but that's that's me. And when they had enough for that, they booked the studio for 2 weeks in Netherlands, and I came down there for, I was in Netherlands 3 days, I went in the studio 2 days, and we recorded the whole song live in the studio, like except vocals, but we recorded drums, 2 guitars, bass, keyboards live in the studio. I played guitar with them, and I did the vocals the day after, some saxophone stuff, and then I was really happy with the song. And then they had this 20 years anniversary show coming up, sold out at 013 in the land in Tilburg, which is, I don't know how many thousand people, but some place between 3,000 and 5,000 people maybe. And so they asked me to come down and perform the song as a premiere. So that's what I did last Saturday, which was really fucking cool. And it was my birthday too, like on the 3rd of September. So it was a great birthday,
For real.
Yeah. And that song is coming out. I can't say the exact date because they haven't announced it, but it's coming out really soon. So it's the first single from that project. So soon you'll be able to hear the studio version, and they will. The plan is also to have a video for it. So it's going to be really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess on a personal note that maybe the label considers it an EP, since you say there's different styles involved that's like kind of apart from what Epica is usually doing, and also the collaboration with other musicians.
Yeah,
so
that might be the reason.
Ok, so I'm going to translate now. Praticamente ha detto che la collaborazione con gli Epica di per sé è nata perché comunque con il bassista Rob magari seguivano su Instagram, amici su Facebook, e quindi proprio anche tra il fatto di vedere più o meno cosa facevano su Facebook, nonostante appunto Jorgen non fosse un conoscitore degli Epica, cioè li aveva sentiti nominare, li aveva sentiti eccetera eccetera, ma non gli aveva mai dato tra virgolette peso, nel senso buono del termine ovviamente. Poi la collaborazione effettiva è nata quando hanno suonato al 70,000 Tons of Metal, appunto è una crociera che parte da Miami, arriva in Messico e torna indietro, dove Jorgen appunto era come tastierista per gli Emperor. Lui ha detto appunto una band black metal norvegese, esatto, e questo praticamente gli Epic hanno suonato appena prima di loro, almeno va a memoria, e appunto sono rimasti là qualche giorno per forza di cose. Rob praticamente l'ha approcciato dicendogli di vabbè dai, andiamo a fare immersioni. Non era capace, però ha detto è da là che comunque abbiamo iniziato a parlare. Quindi vabbè, è scoppiata la pandemia e gli ha contattato, scusa, Rob praticamente l'ha contattato e ha detto guarda, ti va di iniziare a lavorare su sto progetto che stiamo facendo con vari musicisti, perché praticamente è una sorta di album, ha detto 7-8 canzoni il prodotto finale, e ha detto l'etichetta lo considera anche un EP, però in realtà vista la lunghezza potrebbe essere quasi un album vero e proprio. Mentre appunto comunque gli Epic avevano già un album che era fatto e finito, solo che appunto non l'hanno fatto uscire nell'immediato perché ha detto non possiamo fare tour, non possiamo promuoverlo, quindi l'hanno lasciato un attimo in disparte e hanno iniziato a lavorare a questo progetto che va avanti appunto da 1 anno e mezzo praticamente. Il processo è stato molto diretto, ci sono stati molti scambi di materiale tra gli uni e gli altri, perché appunto hanno avuto modo, come per il resto del materiale su cui lavora, c'è la possibilità di fare avanti e indietro tra parte artistica e parte quella, come si dice, la parte analitica. Quindi ha sfruttato quella cosa là. E appunto ha detto che la canzone, quella con lui, è stata la prima che è stata completata di questo progetto, perché ha detto che gli altri erano praticamente ancora lenti, eccetera. Infatti appunto ci ha messo quasi un anno e mezzo per farla, per fare del progetto. E appunto, visto che dovevano fare il concerto per il 20° anniversario, l'hanno invitato a suonare appunto la canzone come sorta di premiere, anche se appunto non è stata annunciata la data di uscita della canzone o dell'album in sé. E tra l'altro quel giorno era il giorno del suo compleanno, quindi ha detto poter suonare una canzone nuova con loro il giorno del mio compleanno è una gran bella cosa. E ha detto che comunque è stato molto contento anche del risultato, perché comunque è stata suonata per la prima volta davanti ha detto tra le 3.000 e le 5.000 persone, quindi parliamo di un buon numero di gente.
Porca miseria. Allora, Jorgen, come riesci ad entrare con il tuo strumento, il tuo sax o appunto le tue parti lì in tastiera all'interno di una natura che potrebbe far entrare alcune stagioni o una stagione in particolare come l'autunno? Ecco, questa stagione autunnale con la natura, eh, come riesce a creare un qualcosa di invisibile che va a solcare i sentieri della natura e creare una colonna sonora naturale?
So he's asking, how can you manage to create sax parts? I mean, it can be in whatever, it can be in Shining, it can be in every project you're working with, and to compare it to with a painting to seasons, for example, like autumn. And how can you manage to create this ambience with your instrument?
Is he saying that I am creating those ambiences, or is he saying what if I wanted to do it?
No, that is saying that you are creating those ambiences.
Okay. Well, I think as a musician, you gotta be a chameleon. You gotta first you gotta be able to express different emotions, and so that's that you gotta first you gotta learn the emotions. You gotta be, if you want to make a song or play something that's really sad, you gotta have tried, you gotta have a part of your life where you have been sad, and if you want to be really angry, pretend that you're angry when making a song, you gotta know the feeling of being angry. And so that's, I think, like, that's the difference between great musicians and not so great musicians, is that great musicians have a big palette of emotions that they can draw from, and then they gotta have good enough technique to be able to manifest or summon and to create these emotions. So that's what I try to do. I want to be able to, if he says that I'm able to do it, that's fucking great. I want to be able to have a lot of different emotions that I can draw from when I play music. So thanks a lot.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that also with an instrument like the saxophone, or in general like the acoustic instruments, you are able to, like, as you said, summon whatever feeling you want to with ease, basically, as soon as you get to know how to get along with the instrument and use it, and I guess you're basically done if you know also the emotions you want to bring out with it.
Yeah, that's my goal, you know.
Ok, quindi praticamente yeah, sorry, go on.
I saw Paco Cepeda. I have a comment there. That's a friend of mine. I'm not sure if I've ever met him, but yeah, there he is. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine on internet, which is those are friends of mine, and he's like
That's
a fan
great.
of Shining, and he's so hello Paco, hope you're doing great. He's not Italian. He lives in Texas or something, and but I think he's got some Mexican genes in him. So yeah, thanks for showing up.
He's asking you, how do you feel about the fact that you touch so many lives with your music, and that the fact that your music is people's lives soundtrack?
Yeah, well, if that is correct, then I'm super happy with that. I think when I was younger, my biggest goal with music was for my music to be remembered, like, or for my music to get into the history books. I didn't give a shit if it happened while I was alive or after I was dead. You know, as long as it made an impact on people. And if that's happened in my lifetime, then really that's really good, because then my first goal has been achieved. And so that's that. And I think more and more about now I was talking about like being remembered in the history books, but what he's saying is touching people's life and helping people's life now. I think that's more and more important to me now than being remembered, if you see what I'm saying. So I like my music now. I feel like, and also in my life, I'm more interested in other people. Like when I was younger, I wasn't interested in other people, but now I am. I'm interested in other people and other people's lives, and that's part of why I love touring. I get to meet new people, get to know them, get to talk to them, get to hear about their lives, and about their good. Get to hear about what all the cool things they do that can inspire me, how they can make great things that maybe I can learn new things, or I can hear about the super bad, shitty parts of their lives, and then and just like all the good and the bad things. So that's so if I could, if some of my songs could help people, that's really nice.
That's great. Ok, quindi adesso riassumo un attimo quello che ha detto, perché appunto le domande alla fine sono diventate due. Allora, riguardo la domanda che hai fatto te, Alan, è molto semplice, nel senso che ha detto: nel momento in cui tu riesci a conoscere lo strumento che stai utilizzando, qualsiasi strumento sia, e conosci le emozioni, quindi appunto come nel tuo caso l'emozione che può creare l'autunno, quindi quello che viene fuori da quella roba, da quella stagione, e appunto con lo strumento riesci a, diciamo, far nascere quei sentimenti da quello strumento, cioè riesci con più facilità, secondo lui. E ha detto, lui è quello che vuole fare, cioè vuole creare delle emozioni, e ha detto che se quello che tu hai sentito, appunto quello della stagione autunnale, è quello che tu hai percepito, lui è più che contento, e ti ringrazia tantissimo comunque della cosa, perché dice: è questo l'obiettivo che volevo ottenere, cioè creare delle emozioni nelle persone. E poi tornando al commento di Paco, praticamente Paco diceva come ci si sente ad aver toccato così tante vite con la propria musica, e Jorgen ha appunto detto che si sente contentissimo. Innanzitutto l'ha salutato, perché ha detto è un amico dell'internet, si conoscono da un sacco di tempo, e di conseguenza dice: a me piace un sacco conoscere gente, conoscere le loro storie, perché queste possono anche influenzare me, ma anche giusto per il piacere personale di poter dire io ho lasciato un segno a qualcuno. E lui ha detto anche proprio rimanere nei libri di storia, ovvio non necessariamente parla di rimanere nei libri di storia, però di creare un impatto positivo.
Ok, a te l'ultima domanda e poi ti lascio libero.
So this is the last question for this evening, and this is the typical one that we are making for Il Calice Nero, which is if you have to compare Shining to an alcoholic beverage that you can enjoy while listening to Shining, whatever album it is, it doesn't really matter. What do you think it is and why? Because from my point of view, I see something that's like bittersweet, like some sort of, for example, grappa with honey in it, and maybe a few spices, for example, rosemary or salvia, and stuff like that. So, what is your point of view?
I think we should have different beverages for each album. I think like Animal could it be a fucking margarita, you know? And I think like the new stuff, like the singles after after Animal, I think they're like you know what the drinks that the kids drink, like the alcoholic soda shit.
Bacardi Breezer.
Yeah. or you know, hooch, or maybe like you know, the battery with the battery and the Jaeger bombs, you know.
Yeah, my fucking God.
Yeah, Jaeger bombs.
These are the worst.
So that's like that's the I don't give a fuck drinks. And then I think like black jazz could probably be, you know, something as heavy as a whiskey, like just a whiskey or something like that. Whiskey and coffee, I guess.
Yeah, it's just quite nice, to be fair.
Yeah. And then 111. That's a little bit more, you know, I would say gin and tonic or something like that. A little bit more specific. And yeah, I think those are the ones that I would, you know, that I have like some specific thoughts on.
So, Animal margarita.
Yeah.
111.
Gin and tonic, or or gin. I would say gin and ginger beer. I don't know what's called. Ginger mule. Yeah.
Okay.
Gin and ginger beer. Yeah.
Okay. Then for black jazz, we said whiskey
and coffee.
And coffee. And there's the fourth one with the Bacardi Breezer stuff. That
that's the singles. All of the new singles, it's like an album in the works, but I don't give a fuck. And Kiss My Ass and, you know, Slaughter, like the new singles that have come out in the last 2 years, like they got like pink artwork and shit. So that's like Bacardi or you know, Jaeger bomb or, you know, anything, stuff like that, you know.
Okay, so I'm going to translate it because it's quite some stuff. Ok, praticamente, allora, andando in ordine dal più recente, ha detto di Animal, ha detto un margarita. Poi per 111 ha detto tipo gin e root beer. Quindi
not root beer, but ginger beer. Or ginger ale. Sorry, ginger ale. That's what it's called.
Ginger ale, ok.
Yeah.
E praticamente... Porca, mi sfugge il ginger, lo zenzero. Ok, poi per Black Jazz lui ha parlato di whisky col caffè. E per quanto riguarda tutti i singoli nuovi, ha detto di per sé sono praticamente come Jaeger Bomb e Bacardi Breezer, quelle le robettine, ha detto. Ok.
Allora, prima di tutto Grazie mille. Thank you very much the opportunity interview Shining. Very honor. A te,
Okay,
gli ultimi
so
saluti,
really, again,
appunto.
also from me, thank you really for being here this evening. It has been fun, and I hope you're willing to come back whenever you want to. Feel free to contact him, and we will be more than glad to maybe go more in depth about this. So yeah, thanks again for being part of Il Calice Nero, and it's really a pleasure of having you here.
Thank you
thanks
so
again.
much.
Thanks
Thank
to
you.
Alla prossima, Jordan.
It was a pleasure. See you soon.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Ok ragazzi, abbiamo finito, grazie mille Adimer, che lo lascio subito andare perché appunto
Grazie
ha un
mille.
impegno urgente. Ragazzi, ci vediamo domani con i Rebellion. Mi raccomando, solamente una cosa, il sacro codice 9000, la morte vi renderà liberi, che non si fermerà mai. Fanculo. Au revoir.